Hello, and welcome to Flicker Effect. No, it's not David, it's Bobby. I'm hosting today while David and Michelle take the day off. Today is Monday, December 7th, and this is episode 387. And joining me today is Yasha Wilson. What's up, Yasha?
Hey. What's going on, man? 387, closing in on that 400 mark very quickly here. That's kind of exciting.
I know. So check this out. I was talking to David today in text, and he mentioned something that I wasn't aware of, and he completely forgot. So he was talking to his son yesterday, and his son just was sort of casually asking him about the show and how long he's been doing it. And he didn't realize it until he kind of looked it up. The first show that he started was back in June, and it was June of I think it's 2011, and he did Green Lantern as the first review. So back in June was the 10-year anniversary of doing Flicker Effect.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was like, he was kind of bummed that we missed the date. We didn't even realize that we had passed it by at the time. So I was like, oh well, got to catch it at the next big milestone. Catch it at year 15 or something like that. So anyway,
Years, wow.
yeah, definitely a big milestone. So before we jump into some of this stuff, I kind of want to know one thing because I hadn't talked to you since pretty much after we had Comic-Con weekend down there in San Diego.
Yeah.
And you went to Canada for a few days. There's
I
a
did.
smile. Did you get a chance to do anything while you were there, or was it just kind of like you just had to work and get out of there?
Um, well, first, it wasn't necessarily work. It was more of like a company retreat for all of us to get
Okay.
together and stuff like that. So there really wasn't much work, even though when we were all around, you're around a bunch of work employees, you do end up talking shop for quite some time. Um, it was, for lack of a better way of saying it, a fucking nightmare trying to get into
Oh.
Canada. It was an absolute disaster. I'll just tell the story real quick here. I got my COVID test on Friday, the Friday after Thanksgiving, just before my trip on Monday. I got it at around 9:05. I went to check in at the ticketing counter to go to Canada, and my COVID test had expired by 10 minets, so they would not let me
Oh.
on the plane. I had to rush and go and get a new COVID test, get on the shuttle, call an Uber, have the Uber take me over there, get the test. $200 later, come back, scan my email repeatedly until I get the results. Results passed. My flight left without me, got put on another flight. Instead of a direct flight, it was now a layover flight. So my day of traveling that would have been a 5.5 hour day turned into a 14-hour day of traveling. Did not get to Canada until about 10:30, 10:45. 11:30, I finally made it. Bless the company and their good spirits, and they're taking care of their employees. They got me a hotel room at the airport, so I didn't have to really worry about that. Because there was another gentleman who was kind of in the similar boat. The next morning, I had to get another COVID test to get to the hotel, which was about an hour and a half away, or the resort, I should say. Get there and finally start to relax Tuesday morning at 10:45.
Man,
So
that's a lot.
it was a lot. It was fun. It was one of the most beautiful places that I've ever seen. It was fantastic. Very peaceful because it was just cold enough for snow, but not cold enough to be frigid or horrible. It literally was just, it would snow in the morning and then basically just sit there the rest of the day. It was absolutely stunning.
Did you take pictures?
One more time.
Did you take pictures?
I did. I did take pictures. I don't have it all queued up right now. Otherwise, I would
Oh
definitely
yeah,
try and share. But I'll send you some offline sooner or later.
yeah, definitely. I definitely want to check it out. Yeah, so I guess the only thing that I did over the weekend on Saturday there's this movie trivia contest thing that I like to go to when they have it. I went to the one that they had in New York, and they had another one this past Saturday in LA. It's called the Movie Trivia Schmodown. And this is like their big event for the year. It's basically almost like their WrestleMania for the year. And it was fantastic. It was so much fun. There's so many belts that they have as part of the contest or as part of the trivia. And each division has a belt, and so all the belts were up for grabs, and it was just getting to see the level of competition and how many answers that they get correctly. It's just phenomenal in terms of how well they're able to recall a lot of things and how close some of those matches come down to. And it was pretty fantastic. And I saw Coy, and he said to tell you what's up when I
Oh,
saw
very
you. So
cool.
yeah. But yeah, it was such a good day, but it was a long day because it started at 12:30, I want to say, and it went to about 6:30, maybe 7. And then after that, there was like after party at the bar next door, and then there was another one back in Burbank, and I think I got home around midnight dish or 1, somewhere around there. But it was a lot of fun. So that was my Saturday, and pretty much I didn't get a chance to watch anything. And I figured since neither of us really had a chance to watch much, we could talk about some stuff that's in the news.
Let's do
And
it. Let's
all
do it.
right, all right. So first up, there was, man, it seems like it's a lot of Spider-Man stuff going on right now, because whether
Dude,
it's Spider-Man directly or Spider-Man indirectly, there's some stuff going on. So first, we got a trailer for the new Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse called Spider-Man, or what's it called, Into
across.
the Across the Spider-Verse. Yes, part 1. You have a chance to see this trailer or this little teaser?
I did. Admittedly, I saw it when there was a bunch of people around, so I didn't get a chance to hear all of the banter back and forth. But I did get pretty much the premise. But I was, I mean, kind of similar to what I experienced when I first watched the movie. I was just so enamored with the animation and how
Yeah.
beautiful it looked. And what I really, really enjoyed was the pubescent awkwardness that they really gave Miles in the trailer, because you can tell that he's very much aged up quite a bit.
Mm.
And I really, really, at least maybe not quite a bit, but at least enough that he's at that awkward phase in his life. And I really enjoyed seeing him. It's just cool to see that they're aging him up a little bit and having him grow, since it has been a couple of years since we've seen this character. It made me want to revisit the entire world and watch Into the Spider Verse again, because I've said this before, and I think I'll stand by it. And I think Bobby, you would agree with me. I've told people, I was like, if you haven't watched this movie, you're doing yourself a disservice. And this is arguably the best Spider-Man movie that they've ever released. You could argue that it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not necessarily agree with me on that because it's animation and it's a little bit of a
Right.
different character and who you're not used to. I stand by my statement because of how amazing and integrated the characters were with each other, um, and the spirit of the character and how he grew throughout the film was just was next level, and it was beautiful. So that's why I say that, and I tell people that all the time. You could argue that this is the best Spider-Man movie that they've released since they started doing all these.
You're not wrong. It's fantastic, and they just do such a good job of the way they put that first movie together, just from the craziness and the different way that that animation looked, and just the story. It had heart. It just had everything that you want from when you're watching Spider-Man, whether it's Spider-Man proper or just that world that he inhabits. And this little teaser, this little taste that we got, I thought did such an excellent job of saying, "Hey, here's where we kind of left off," because it was part of that. I don't remember if it was a post credit or just slightly after the end of the movie, where you see Gwen talking to Miles through the portal. So you get a little taste of that, and like you said, they're a little bit older now, but then they also show you what looks like some different art style going on when he goes through the portal. And at first you see, as he goes through the portal, you see him come in contact with Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. And I thought that was awesome looking just because of the difference in the way it looked. But then they go through another portal, and then that even had another look to it. And honestly, when I first watched that trailer, I didn't catch that it changed up a little bit. And by the time I watched it a second time, I was like, "Oh, that's dope." And so then what I read after that was that for all the different types of multiverses that they go into, they found a different artist to do the style of that different multiverse. So we're gonna have a whole bunch of different looks to the film. And I was like, man, that's so sick. That's dope that
Brilliant.
they're doing that.
Brilliant. Absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. That's so cool. It reminds me of I'm not sure if you knew this, but if you watched the Aviator, the movie with directed by Scorsese with Leonardo
Mm-hmm.
DiCaprio, when I was reading about that, is that Scorsese directed each period of time of the progression of Hugh, not what was it? His not Hugh Hefner, but
Oh, yeah.
uh, the the main character that was based off of.
Yeah. All of a
How
sudden,
am I
I'm
drawing a
blanking on
blank
his
on it
name.
right now? That's so
I'm drawing a
crazy.
blank too.
I'm looking it up now because that's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah, it'll mess with my head too because
Yeah, because it's
Howard. No,
Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes. You're
Howard
right.
Hughes. There
That's
you
what it
go.
was. So it was Howard Hughes, and each time that he was progressing, when it was like a period of time of, really prominent of what his development of his personality and stuff like that, he shot and directed the film in that type of film that they used for that decade. So if it was really grainy look, or in some scenes you would find it a little bit more of a green undertones, a little bit more prominent. When Technicolor basically first started to come out and whatnot, that was how he kind of shot the film. And I thought that was really, really brilliant. Like I thought that was absolutely so creative that he would do something like that. And that's honestly one of the reasons why, and we're not going to get into the whole thing about it, but it's like one of the reasons why I think he should have won an Oscar for The Aviator, opposed to winning an Oscar for The Departed.
Yeah,
The
Gangs of New York.
Departed.
Yeah,
Like
The Departed.
The Departed was fantastic. I enjoyed the film, but it's like it just didn't. I mean, it was a cat and mouse game. The Aviator, I felt was definitely worthy of a little bit more recognition than it got.
That's funny that you say that because I remember the buzz around it, but then it seemed like it died down really quickly and kind of sort of just faded under. It's not one that many people talk about, really, when you think about it.
Dude, it was so good
Talk
though.
about Scorsese's movies.
I liked
So
it. I liked it a lot. Like it was good.
I think that's I for me, I feel like that's one of those ones that I'd have to go back and rewatch because I don't think I don't even know that I fully watched it all the way. I'd have to go
Oh, okay.
back and look at it again. But that kind of gives me a good idea because I mean typically enjoy Scorsese movies, so I would be interested at least in double checking to make sure that I remember it correctly, and if not, then fill in those gaps from what I missed.
So yeah, here it is. Director Martin Scorsese designed each of the year in the movie to look just the way the color movie from that time period would look, achieved mainly through digital enhancement, post-production. Scorsese recreated the look of Cinecolor and two-strip Technicolor. Watch in particular for the scene when Howard Hughes meets Errol Flynn in the club. Hughes is served precisely placed peas on a plate, and they appear to be blue or turquoise. Just as they have been looked into strip Technicolor process as Hughes ages throughout the movie, the color gets more sophisticated and full-bodied. Like, who would have thought of something like that? That's so cool.
I don't know. Yeah, it is. It is. So, man, okay, you've given me some homework assignments, so I have to try and check that out when I can. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because I definitely want to see it since it's a Scorsese movie, and I'm a big DiCaprio fan. So I'm gonna have to go back and try and watch that again. While we're on the subject of Spider-Man, hey, did you get tickets for Spider-Man No Way Home?
No, not yet.
No.
I will.
Okay.
you know,
other,
like, I mean, I know when to go to a movie theater and not
yeah,
necessarily be bothered with the crowds and whatnot. So if it's, and if it's, I mean, I'm going to try and see it on a Thursday night if they have it down here playing a Thursday night show. Um, but if not, then I'll probably see it Saturday morning at a theater. And if I go to, I know what theaters to go to try and to get in
hmm,
there and not necessarily have to deal with too many crowds and whatnot. I'll just go up to, I'll go up to where I'm from, Tustin.
hmm,
There's a couple of theaters up there that it's been pretty consistent with, no matter what, how big the movie is. If you go to like an 11 o'clock show, nobody's going to
right,
an 11 o'clock show. You
yep.
can just go into the movie and just kind of enjoy it. So I'll just do that. But I haven't bought the tickets. Have you bought your tickets yet already?
I did. I was able to get them for that day at the first showing, which is at 3 o'clock. And I mean, it's crazy enough in general that on a Thursday, a movie is going to start at 3 and not at 6 or 7.
Yeah,
So I'm going to be able to see it as soon as possible because I know that it comes out 2 days earlier in the UK and some other countries. So
yeah,
I already know I'm going to be media blackout, social media blackout for those first 2 days of next week. So I don't get spoiled for anything. And then check it out that Wednesday and probably try and catch it again if I can on the weekend. So we'll see. But I definitely want to watch it twice before we record again. So
yeah.
it's going to
Actually, I
happen.
can tell you right now that I won't be able to see it on Thursday. I completely forgot that I have a commitment to go to on Thursday night, so I
Mm-hmm.
won't be seeing it. But it looks like, just looking at doing a quick look at all of the hours that it's playing at the theater down the street from me. I mean, it's starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, so I can go at 11 o'clock in the morning on Friday if I really want to, or wait until the evening to go and see it, or just wait and see it on Saturday. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna try not to do it that long because, like you said, Bobby, you know, there's too many people out there that like to ruin things on social media and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure that I'll have something spoiled for me a little bit, but I'm really hoping that I can just kind of go dark for a while and not really pay attention to anything and just focus on anything and literally everything else.
Yeah. I mean, that's the plan. And I hope to not get anything spoiled, any surprises. I really want to be in theater at the time when all that stuff hits. So I got my fingers crossed that I can go in unspoiled, but only time will tell. And we don't have that much more of it. It's probably like 10 days left until
Yeah,
it's out in theater. So
officially a
just gotta
week
hang
on
on a little
Thursday.
bit longer. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I really hate the fact that they lift the embargo so early for like
Mm,
this.
the
It's just
media and
like,
stuff.
yeah, like, I mean, especially if it's being released early in the UK and, you know,
Yeah.
across the pond, as they would say. I think it's just kind of asinine, like, as to why they would do that. I don't understand the logic behind it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I think of is they're just trying to get word out there early enough so that people who were on the fence somehow will be convinced to go see it if they get that early news, especially if it's early enough. That usually shows that the studio is confident that people are really going to enjoy it, so they want to get those extra ticket sales for that weekend. In fact, I think I saw a story maybe last night where the box office projections had been updated, and at first I think they were saying maybe around 150 million, but now they're saying like anywhere from 190 million to 250 million that opening weekend.
Wow.
And that's just insane because I think the right now in game, or maybe if it wasn't in game, it was Infinity War. But one of the two, I want to say it's in game, had 257 million opening weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So for even if it comes close to that, or even if it breaks into that $200 million range, it's in good company. And I think the third on the spot was like the Force Awakens with 238 or somewhere around there. So it's pretty crazy how much people are anticipating this movie and really ready to go out to the theaters if they haven't been out and making this their first movie back in theaters. So
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting just to be in that environment, that opening day, that for me, for being in the environment, that opening day, that first showing of the day, and just to get that experience. That's the best part about going to the movie theater for a big tentpole movie, is that experience of everyone being in on the whole aspect of it, like you were for Endgame when all the different moments happen. So I'm looking forward to it, and the closer we get to it, the more hyped and excited I get about it.
absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
There was So there was some more news that came out, and you had actually put it into our group feed in Instagram. I saw the story maybe a day or two earlier, but I didn't necessarily trust the source. So I was like, okay, we've been hearing this for a little while, but
What was the
I don't
story?
know how true it is. And the one I'm talking about is, as far as Charlie Cox is confirmed as being back into, or I should say into the MCU, because it doesn't seem like maybe they're acknowledging the Netflix stuff, but now they're confirming by the man himself, Kevin
Kevin
Feige,
Feige. Yeah.
saying that we got Charlie Cox will be playing Daredevil whenever we see him, whenever show he pops up in, or movie he pops up in. So yeah, I gotta say, we've had many conversations about Daredevil and the Netflix show, and Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, and to get this confirmation from Kevin Feige himself, for him to be saying that we're actually going to have Charlie Cox, I mean, that just opens up a world of possibilities. And I've seen some people speculating, saying that, well, okay, he will be Daredevil, he will be Matt Murdock, but he won't be the same version of the character from the Netflix series. That they're going to treat that like it was like a different universe, and this is the MCU's version of that character. And for me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just as long as they can keep some of the tone of that series alive, then I'm on board with it. I know it's Disney and it's MCU, and they don't go too dark, but I'm hoping that they keep at least most of the essence of the series, if not just the character and what they developed with him back on on that show on Netflix, because I think they did such a good job and nailed the tone very well of what they did what they did with Daredevil and Kingpin, that as good as it is to see those actors returning to those roles, I want them to keep some of the grittiness and some of that darkness to it without making it too colorful and light and over the top, because it's MCU. If you get what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like, I mean, the reason that it was so good, in my opinion, isn't necessarily that it was just Daredevil, but it was very gritty and it was very dark, and it was very traumatizing. I remember the first kill when I was watching the first season, and in all honesty, in all honesty, I might start watching it again because I absolutely loved the Daredevil series. I thought it was, by all accounts, pretty flawless in regards to its run, except for the fact that we just didn't get another arc with
Yeah.
the build up for Bullseye that they did for his character. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. Like whereas in some of the other shows kind of faltered after their first season, this one just seemed to be getting stronger and stronger as it just kind of went on. And I hope they kind of keep that same tone. It doesn't have to be as dark, but I do hope that they kind of keep it in the same tone as to like how fractured of a human being he really is, and how the trauma that he's kind of endured over the course of his life, because it's not good. Like he's constantly faced with struggles and everything like that. And I think it's awesome that Kevin Feige went on the record and said, when we do introduce Daredevil, it is definitely going to be Charlie Cox. And I think that's him kind of catering and pandering to the fans, and just like, why bother? Why mess with a good thing? If Charlie wants to do it, let's call him up and let's get him to do it. Especially since the fans are just like, please bring him back, please bring him back, please bring him back.
Yeah.
So, because I think there's definitely a market for that, if not for a series. I mean, I would go see a movie with that same tone and whatnot. And I hope that John Barenthal comes back to do to do the Punisher, because I thought he did a good job of that too. Like, it wasn't my favorite, and Punisher's never been one of my favorite characters, but I mean, I like him and I like what he stands for and who he is. He's dark and horrible too. Like, I mean,
you're right.
it'd be so much fun to see those two on screen together, kind of getting after it again, and having them talk back and forth, and the banter back and forth is just like when they first introduce him in the second season, you're just kind of like, you don't expect to see the Punisher for at least a couple of episodes, and he is boom right there in the up front and center. It was amazing. It was fantastic. I love it. So I'm super excited that Kevin Feige went on record saying that, because one thing he does know how to do is, I think he does try to cater to the fans and make sure that he knows what people want, and he tries to give them what they want to.
Yeah, he's able to strike such a good balance of giving fans what they want and then not giving them what they want in the way that they expect it. And so I think that he, being a fan himself, he understands and gets it just from being part of the comics and being a part of the movies. He knows how things are going to hit for us. And so I think he makes it a point to hear the fans and say, okay, just wait, we got you. And so I think that that's what him coming out, like you said, I'm so happy that he didn't just beat around the bush with it, and he just literally just out and said it, as opposed to playing games with us as fans. So to me, it's one of those things where, even though he was like, yeah, you don't know when, or where, a lot of us are anxious and know that it has to be soon. And so obviously there's a lot of rumors out there about when that'll happen, and I won't get into it here, but it could be very soon. So I'm just looking forward to seeing whenever he pops up on screen, and just hear any kind of crowd reaction to him popping up on screen, because that's going to be an exciting moment.
Yeah, I hope they kind of keep that as a secret as well, and just kind of like, in one of the scenes in the movie, almost as iconic, when Cap picked up the hammer, all of a sudden you see one of the billy clubs just fly across the screen and knock somebody out and come back bouncing back into his hand. And just like, it's just like, oh shit, it's Daredevil, yay!
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it'll be at least some moment of excitement there. So looking forward to that. And yeah, it was kind of interesting because Kevin Feige is making the rounds, obviously, because of Spider-Man. And so he had talked about a few different things, and that being one of them, and even pretty much said on record that, not specifically saying anyone in particular, but he really kind of confirmed the idea that the other actors are in play as well, as bringing back some of those people to re-inhabit their roles that they did from the Netflix series. So it's possible we might get a John Barenthal back as a Punisher. It's possible we might get Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. It's possible that we'll get Jessica Jones back.
That's
I
where it
don't
stops.
think it'll be possible we get Finn Jones back.
That's where it stops. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you dare say Finn Jones. Like, it's so bad. It's just like, it's so sad, because it's like, I mean, we've talked about this in circles. I think the two of us, and I've talked about it with some of my friends and families, or the ones that are into this as well. It's like, if they made Iron Fist, like Iron Fist, like they made Shang-Chi, that series would have gone three seasons without question. That would have done so much better than what it was, but it just wasn't that.
No,
so I don't think we'll get that.
I don't either. Yeah,
which I'm fine with.
Yeah, I think most people are. So we'll see how it goes. But there was another trailer that came out kind of out of nowhere because they had just had a shorter trailer or a little tease or something or other last week for it, and that was for the new Matrix movie. Um, did you catch that trailer?
I did. I watched that one. I watched it once. I'd like to watch that again too. They show a lot more of kind of like the plot, premise and plot of this story, kind of with this one. They give you a lot more, and I'm sure there's still a lots to catch up on, but they definitely
Mm,
do tease a lot more. It just looks like it's going to be really, really kick ass. It looks like it's definitely going to be very action packed, unless I'm being
mm.
misled. The action and the characters that they're introducing, it just looks like so much fun to kind of re-enter that world and that fantasy. Because I've always liked the storyline of the Matrix.
Yeah.
I've liked the idea of since the beginning, and I'm just the the third one I wasn't a huge fan of. It was okay,
Mm.
excuse me, but this could be a lot of fun. This could be a lot of fun to watch if they do it right. Like, and I hope that they do, because they could basically have relaunched and restarted this franchise if this hits.
Yeah, I think that's what they're hoping for. Definitely what Warner Brothers is hoping for. Because if you think about it, at the height of its popularity, Matrix was everywhere. I mean, not only did they have the movies going for themselves, but they started to do animation, they started comics, games. So if
Yeah,
they can reignite that spark and light that again, at this point in time, it's actually perfect for it because you could imagine Warner Brothers is chomping at the bit to probably do a Matrix TV series of some sort on HBO Max.
oh yeah,
You
that'd be
know,
cool. Yeah.
they
Uh,
who knows how it would be or what it would be structured around, but I know they'd probably want to do something like that to keep it going and then have that lead into movies and stuff like that. So, or like again with the animation, how they did the anime kind of thing, doing that on HBO Max as well. I
yeah,
know that they want to do it. So I'm hoping it's good just to be able to see and inhabit that world some more and just sort of as kind of not necessarily a do-over, but just to be able to leave on a better note than they had previously with the last movie. As you said,
yeah,
it wasn't as good as the series had been, and even too, um, it gets a lot of trash thrown its way, and I can understand why it gets so heavy and deep and convoluted that it's not as easy to follow, not necessarily I should say, as the first movie is. And so I think they kind of start getting bogged down in a lot of the elements of the Matrix in the second one, but
yeah,
it still has some really kick-ass scenes to it and some good stuff going on in it. So I think they want to at least try and return to form in this one and get, like you say, sort of jumpstart a kickstart a new franchise. And I'm all for it. And I think the only thing, well, I won't say the only thing, but at least on the surface, the two things that I feel like might hold it back is one, it comes out the week after Spider-Man comes out. Once Spider-Man No Way Home comes out, the week after is when The Matrix comes out.
yeah,
That's hard enough in and of itself, but not only do you have that to kind of cross over, it's also one of those movies, and it may be the last movie of the year that's also going to be on HBO Max at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah,
So that's going to cut into its box office that it could potentially make. So I got my fingers crossed that whether it does well on HBO Max for the people who see those numbers and can appreciate it, or if it does well enough in the theater or some sort of combination of the two, that Warner Brothers will be happy with it and be able to give us more, assuming we want more, that it's
yeah,
good and it warrants it. So
yeah.
that's kind of where I'm my fingers are crossed for them at.
Yeah, I mean, they could give us this movie, and we could just be like, we didn't need this. Nobody asked for
Yeah.
this. You're just trying to capitalize on Keanu Reeves right now because he's so hot and everything he does, and people love seeing him kick ass again. But it's just so funny to kind of think about the numbers from back in the day of what this movie made. I mean, the
Mm.
open the budget for the movie was $63 million, which to me is just like incredibly small in the grand scheme of things. And it really speaks to the fact that it's like they probably didn't really believe in the idea of this because it's so fantasy driven. And a domestic opening, it only made $27 million. That's not great. That's
No.
but it had legs, and it went for 171 domestically and 294 million internationally. So it was a massive, massive, massive hit. And it's just like looking at the numbers for the movies after that, the Reloaded one, where everybody was amped to see it. They decided to give them whatever they wanted when it came to the budget, which was 151 million, 91 domestic opening, and then 281 million domestic, and then internationally it was 460 million. So 741 million dollars globally. Which is, I mean, it's just massive, massive numbers. So it's like if they could start to recreate that type of revenue again with these characters, or at least branch off to give more these characters more. I mean, what's his name? The guy that's in it, the black guy that's playing Yahya
Abdul-Mateen.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen. I mean, who's to say that we might not get a Morpheus spinoff? Or a history of him, or some of the other characters that are in that. Like you said, there's so many different platforms that they could do now because we have the streaming service and HBO Max, and they could do that. I mean, they're bringing everything back that they had that when it came to making money. They had the Friends reunion. We're about to get the Harry Potter reunion. We got damn Sex in the City coming back again. I mean, it's just like it's nonstop with, hey, this was making us money, 20 years ago. Let's see if we can milk it a little bit more. Oh, the Many Saints of Newark was another one. It's just like, let's see what we can do to make some more money off of this stuff.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think that's the name of the game right now is if you have something that's familiar to people, put it out there and see how it does. And I think that that's one of those things where they're not going to stop doing that because more often than not, it seems to work. It's just a matter of how well you're able to make that thing, if it's still viable today in comparison to when it last came out. And along those lines, honestly, now that I think about it, we just had a movie a couple weeks ago that came out, and I was able to give my thoughts on it last week with David. So I'll let you give your thoughts on Ghostbusters Afterlife, another movie that has been gone for a while and has come back. And while it's not Warner Brothers, it's definitely a movie that most people are familiar with. So what'd you think?
Yeah, the movie definitely catches you in the feels. I really enjoyed it. I could probably sit through it again right now. I really liked it. And that's not to say that everything that I know that you've said, Bobby, and that we've talked about it as well, where it's a little slow in the beginning and it's, a little, convoluted, or it's just, it's a little, drags a little bit and it's kind of like the same story. Yeah, I'm going to argue with any of that. Like, I mean, I totally 100% agree with all of what you're saying. That being said, I still thoroughly enjoyed the movie, especially towards the middle to the end, when everything kind of just starts to transpire. I would definitely watch more of these characters. I don't know how excited I would be to see it, but I was really excited to see the original Ghostbusters kind of on screen again. And it just, it really, that's I guess you could say kind of like a special part of my childhood where growing up was like, I do remember watching Ghostbusters, the original series. I do remember being really, really frightened and scared of some of the scenes in the movie. Like, I thought it was really kind of weird. I think the biggest one was the jumping of the library scene in the very first Ghostbusters. That really got me as a kid because I was, I think, 7 when I saw that. Like, I mean, I was a child and like, and so it was very nostalgic to kind of see and have the very same tone. Like Jason Reitman really did, I think, a fantastic job, recreating that into his own thing. And it was, yeah. And the first Ghostbusters came out in 1984. I was 7, like, So I was like, I mean, like 8, 9. Yeah, I was 7 years old. So it was, and I remember watching it as as a kid. So I was like, I really really enjoyed it, and anybody that I talked to, I would definitely refer to them. I was like, you need to go see this film.
Yeah, I mean, it was doing well for itself. I didn't see what it did last week, but it seems like it's doing well enough to where we might get to do some more of these with this cast and keep continuing on with that franchise.
Yeah.
The um the other thing that had came out that I wanted to see if you had a chance to see it at all or heard anyone that had seen it, because now these movies are starting to pile up for me, and that doesn't
Mhm.
typically happen. So I'm a little disappointed in myself that I haven't seen some of these movies. But have you heard anything from anyone that's had a chance to see Encanto?
No,
No,
no.
I've
All
heard
I hear
nothing but
was
good
people
things.
just saying that they're going to go see Encanto, and for a second there, I was like, "What the fuck is Encanto?" And then like it was like, "Oh yeah, that's coming out," and I was just like, I completely just didn't think anything of it. I was just like, "Oh man, that's my bad."
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and so it's on the top of my list of things to go see next to after the once I go to the theater. I'm hoping maybe this weekend I can go out and see it. If not, then I'll try and catch it maybe that same weekend that Spider-Man comes out. Man, but like I said, these movies are starting to pile up fast and furious, and it's getting to be harder and harder to keep up. And I might be in the same boat this year as David, where I'm binging a whole bunch of movies towards the end of the year before Oscar season or before the Oscars come out. So there, every time I look at my list, I just shake my head. I'm like, this list is getting so long of things I want to see. There was this movie that came out on Netflix the other day. I can't remember the name of it, but I remember ahead of time people talking about it. It's with Benedict Cumberbatch,
Oh, the
and
dog one.
yeah, some Way of the Dog or something like
Yeah.
that. I forget what it's called exactly, but I heard buzz about it beforehand, and it just came out on Netflix. And I'm like, man, these movies are just popping up. I cannot keep up, and it's been so difficult. And as a person who loves watching movies, it hurts my heart that I haven't been able to watch some of these things to be able to gauge and get a good feel for it. Um, you know who Taylor Sheridan is, right?
Taylor Sheridan.
Sheridan. He did Wind River and Sicario. We've kind of talked about a lot of the stuff that he's done. Yellowstone is the TV series that he make or he's the showrunner on.
I've heard of her. Yeah, I know his work. Yeah.
So I just saw an article today where he's doing a show with Sylvester Stallone on Paramount Plus, and I think it's called Kansas City. I want to say I didn't get to see what the premise of it is, but I just found it fascinating that we're in a world today where Sylvester Stallone will be, for all intents and purposes, doing a TV show. It's just like,
That's weird.
man, right? It's like the world we live in that it used to be a thing when we were growing up that movie actors looked down on TV or doing TV series in that way. And now it's like it's nothing in the way that they consider it almost like a better chance at really showcasing your skill as an actor or being able to have a good story when it's
Yeah.
done on TV or streaming more so than in the theater and in the movie. So it's just fascinating, and I that's another show that I really want to watch because, as I said, I really am a fan of Taylor Sheridan's work, and so the fact that Yellowstone is out and I haven't had a chance to see it, and then there's the prequel series that's coming out soon. I'm gonna get the year probably wrong, but I think it's like 1883, and it has Elliott, Sam Elliott in it, and a few other people. I haven't seen the full cast, but again, that's something I would want to check out. And he has this other show that just barely came out not that long ago with Jeremy Renner in it as well. And so I'm just like, okay, can I just like pause everything going on in the world,
Mhm.
including work, for like a good solid 2 months and let me
Yeah,
just catch up on everything?
seriously, I'm with you.
There was one other thing that I want to check in with you about because I know you had a chance to watch at least one thing. Uh,
All right.
you have this look on your face, like
No, I'm
you're
ready.
into.
What it
Okay,
is? What is it?
yeah. So it's help me out with this title. The Sex Lives of
College girls.
College Girls. Okay,
Yeah, the sex lives of college girls.
what's that one about?
Let me. I'm going to bring up the IMD description. The sex lives of college girls, most notably for people who don't know, it was created by Mindy Kaling and Justin Noble.
Hmm.
Now, I may not be super familiar with Justin Noble, but he's done stuff like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Never Have I Ever, Idiot Sitter. I don't even know what that is. It's probably something when he was just getting started. Um, but he's done a lot of writing for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Um, but everybody who knows comedy or has watched any episode of The Office will be familiar with Mindy Kaling's work or The Mindy Show. I think that's what the one that she did for a while was her show. And The Office, Wreck-It Ralph, Late Night, Inside Out. Um, Mindy Kaling has and continues to work and impress me with a lot of what she does. Like she's a fantastic writer. She's very creative. She's very quirky. But anyways, for what the sex life of college girls is four 18-year-old freshman roommates at Essex College in Vermont. A bundle of contradictions and hormones, these sexually active college girls are equally parts lovable and infuriating. All of that just doesn't do justice as to how
Hmm.
creative this show really is and the clash of personalities that this show has brought forth for us to enjoy. It is laugh out loud funny. Hands down, laugh out loud funny. I've referred this show to anybody that will listen to me talk about it because I know funny when I see it. And Mindy Kaling, if she is writing a lot of this, is absolutely crushing it. This is a fantastically written, directed, special show. I really think that they have something special here because the through all the absurdity and the silliness that they have when it comes to dating and sex and stuff like that, they do have some underlining tones that I think are really, really important for people who watch these shows or maybe going through some of this stuff when they are in college or they do enter in college. And I think it's cool. Like I really, really am enjoying it. I'm not going to give away anything because I think it's really
No,
important for you to
yeah,
watch the show and
yeah.
kind of get through it. But right now, I mean, the show's just it's hilarious. Like it's
Hmm.
fantastic. I mean, I can't speak highly enough about it. Like I really you get so engaged with these characters and how they're going. Like I watched another episode and I'm all caught up with the 8 episodes that are available on HBO Max, and I can feel the show starting to like get close to wrap up. And I was like, oh, it better not be almost over. And sure enough, there was only like 5 minutes left in the show. So now I have to wait. I don't even know when they release the new episodes. I think it's maybe Wednesday. But if you haven't watched it yet, it's just a fantastic show. We have the stars in it are Pauline Chalamet, which is unbeknownst to me was Timothy Chalamet's sister. Um, Amrit Kaur, I don't know who that is. Renee Rapp, never heard of her before, and Alia Chanel Scott, who's also in the show. And those are the four lead actresses, and they're all really damn good. Like they're just really, really damn good. They're talented. They all play and own the shit out of these roles that they're doing. And I honestly hope that the show just takes off, like just becomes the next big thing to the point where they're just hounded for their photographs and they just get all the kind of success in the world because it is really damn good.
Wow. And where can we go to see it?
It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've convinced me, man. I think I'll probably at least try and check out the first episode if I can tonight, just to try and get at least a feel for it. I don't know when I'll be able to watch the whole thing because I'm so backed up on other shows that I've been watching and currently am watching for this season, but just have fallen behind.
Mhm.
But I at least want to check it out and get a good feel for what the show is.
It's cool because you get that sense of quirkiness, and then at moments there are those awkward moments that you would get from
Hmm.
The
Like The
Office.
Office? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
where you're just kind of like, oh, this is so cringeworthy. Like, this
Hmm.
is this really going to happen? And it does. So there's moments like that, but for the most part, it's just a damn good show. I really enjoy it, and I hope I'm not overselling it because I
Hmm.
really just want it to be successful. But I do. I sold it to one of my friends, one of my best friends, and he finished all 8 episodes before I even got a chance to, and I just told him about it last week.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when I told him about it, and not for not, I think the show is fantastic. The title is absolutely cringing. Like, it's
Hmm.
terrible. Like, I don't know what you could have called it, but The Sex Lives of College Girls is just so long and so misleading. I just, it's so. I mean, but I have no idea what you would have called it, but I don't know if I would have called it that, because when I tell people about it, the first thing they're like, "What, really?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm telling you, the title is terrible, but it's a good show, especially if you need a laugh. Especially if you need a laugh, because it's definitely worth that."
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, you convinced me. How long are the episodes?
The first one is 45 minutes, and then after that, I think they're all about 25 minutes,
Oh wow. Okay. So it's really
28.
easy to
Oh,
binge
it's
through.
yeah, it's super easy to fly through.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. I definitely think I'll try and at least get that first episode in tonight. I'll let you know what I think.
Okay.
Um, I don't have anything else. What about you? Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Um. So Bobby and I got a chance to do Comic Con last week or 2 weeks
Hmm.
ago, and Michelle and David I had a conversation with David that he was thinking about trying to come out and do the Comic Con, and I just want to touch on
Yeah,
this because I think Bobby, you probably said something. I didn't get a chance to
I
listen to
did.
you.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you didn't, David, because I think you would have been incredibly frustrated and really bummed at the outcome, because Bobby just drove an hour, and I think he was pretty bummed at the outcome or came down for it.
Hmm.
There was a lot missing. There was a lot missing, and it wasn't the same. But it was fun to hang out in the city and to see some of the artists and their work and their talent. That's always impressive and always fun. But it definitely was missing quite a bit, and it made me sad. It was really kind of a
Hmm.
bummy thing. Aside from the fact I got a chance to hang out with Bobby all weekend, but we can do that anytime.
Right.
But it was kind of a bummer. But it was fun to see the talent and the art. While he was here, I got a chance to see the second half of He-Man
Hmm.
on the Netflix series, which I enjoyed more than I thought I would. And it was really good. I was fully prepared to take a nap, and Bobby never watched the show, and I just got sucked in and started asking questions and probably driving him crazy every now and then, because
No.
it's like trying to get
Mm-mm.
the skinny on what the hell was happening. Um,
Yeah.
but it was good, man. It's fun, and that was a fun weekend, and I don't really have much else to touch on. I just wanted to kind of say that, and I'm glad that you guys didn't come out for that weekend, because I think you would have really been let down. Because you could literally walk the floor in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's kind of basically what I told David last week when we were on the show, and I was like, he was like, yeah, it kind of sounds like it would have been a little bit of a disappointing. Like he would have enjoyed his time, sort of like me, basically.
Yeah.
I went down there, and even though Comic Con wasn't as well received as I would hoped it would have been for myself, I enjoyed the time being able to just go into the city and do other stuff. And that's kind of where he thought he might have landed. Is like he would have enjoyed being down there, but then he would have at the same time been in the back of his head, like, well, should I, was it really
Yeah.
worth coming out for? So yeah, it is a good thing that they didn't make that trip. And this past weekend there was LA Comic Con, and from a lot of the pictures I saw on Twitter and everything, it seemed like they had a pretty solid lineup of special guests that were there from different shows. And like I saw some of the main people from Smallville. I saw Keith David. There was Giancarlo Esposito. I mean, it was like a ton of awesome
Oh, that's
people
cool.
there. Yeah, and I was like, man, I never thought I'd see the day where LA Comic Con had a better lineup of people than San Diego Comic Con. But
Especially
these are interesting times. So there it
especially
is.
since the COVID restrictions are so much stronger up in LA than they are down here in San Diego.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe that actually helped them in certain cases. Maybe that made for some of the talent to want to come out more a little bit than and going to San Diego. But either way, we'll see how it goes next year, because the interesting thing will be, will we get Marvel? Will we get DC? Now that they've been doing their own thing for the last year or two, will they show up to San Diego next year and show up and show out?
Yeah.
That's the big question. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think that'll wrap things up for this week, Yasha.
Sounds good.
Cool. So for anyone out there, if you want to send in questions, you can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. And we're also on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, add some comments, hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes. And we're also on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us there at flicker_effect. And with that, I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Yasha Wilson.
Thanks for listening and watching.